Good evening. Good evening, fellow Ambazonians, ladies and gentlemen. You're welcome to this very important broadcast by people. We deeply apologize for starting late, but it's not going to be long. We have three things to talk about. The People's Town Hall, I'm sure you've seen the publicity out. We're going to also look through the road map. There's a stalemate in the into the roadmap of dialogue and negotiations. Ambazonia this week scoops through every week to find out those topical issues enraging and impacting the struggle, and we try to dissect them to give, on one hand, to have officials of the Ambazonian government explain to the people the way the government views some of these things, and also to give clarity. So it is It's going to be really on live on TikTok, which is the third thing we'll be talking about. But TikTok requires a minimum followership to be able to go live on TikTok, to have a live TikTok. We just created one TikTok accounts. We had some other accounts before that were blocked. I think some time ago, even on understood some of their policies, and we're doing it now in a way that can be much more stable. What I'm calling on you, we're going to share the link of the platform. So what I'm calling on you people to do is to be able to go there right now, AB on TikTok, because that will help us. Just go follow us right now. Just go there. Just put ABC Networks 24. You're going to see it pop up. You can identify our logo. You see some videos that have been uploaded there. Do the honor. We hope by next Saturday we start going live. Now the idea for TikTok to do the traditional live shows we do, it's going to be a rendezvous, a site where every Southern Cameroonian will allow people that are not Southern Cameroonians sometimes come there sometimes to educate us. But it's going to be an open mic for everybody. Topical issues this week, to come and to say what you think, and also to listen to others. What Cameroon has done is Cameroon has created TikTok accounts for all of their proxy media platforms on TikTok. Life, the State Department is taking TikTok very seriously. Any information there, they follow it. Even when you're going for their internet, go to some of those platforms, and what they do is they conclude that that is a snapshot of the Cameroon, because Chiruma's main campaign forum was TikTok. Cameroon is doing their campaign, and their government and everything they're doing is on TikTok. So as we speak to you right now, that is where we have to go. So it's not, you're not going to go on TikTok talking like this. No, it's going to be a TikTok live that every Ambazonian connect, you begin your opinion. For those who don't want to come on TV, at least you're using social media. And it's also not going to be a traditional town hall. It's not the kind of town hall where you go to ask questions to the president and the president answers. No, it's not an answer question response town hall. This is going to be the people's town hall with ABC Networks 24. So hopefully by next weekend, we all should be in this town hall talking to the world. We need to talk about Ambazonia to the world, and you and I can do that. So that's why ABC has taken the initiative to actually get this platform. We're going to get right away into our discussion, but I first of all want to bring in the lawyers now to comment a little bit. At the end again, we'll start to comment a little bit on the importance of us as Ambazonians, making sure that we explore every aspect. Good evening, Mr. Fru, Mr. Mbeseha. Mr. Fru, I missed you. It's been 2 weeks. Welcome.
Yes,
Hi.
yes, Paddy, yes, Paddy. As you may well know, thank you. As you may well know, I was hosting IOC first meeting, and the other week I don't know what happened. I think yes, the president was meeting with us, and I was having a working session with him, and I couldn't hold up in.
That's amazing. Yeah, by Mbeseha, thank you for opting to join this meeting. I think today we're diving on something really important. The importance of leveraging social media platforms that has the algorithms of different countries, and now realize that politicians are measuring on TikTok. Are lobbying through TikTok to get their agenda heard. The United States Department is using TikTok as a major source of gathering data for whatever thing they want to do, either at the level of the embassy or making their diplomatic and political discourse. We have seen people actually fighting wars using TikTok. And this is a time when we've decided that every Ambazonian should not just go have a TikTok account, but we should have a place where our voices are heard and heard quickly. Before Fru comes in. By Mbeseha, did you?
Well,
By Mbeseha, please.
yeah. Thank you for having me, and thank you for having Fru John Nsoh along with us today. You see, you talk about TikTok. Suffice it to say that this is 2026. The whole world leaders are on social media platforms. Call it TikTok, Twitter, or any other forum. That in the world, and you can see Donald Trump. You can see the Russian president, the British Prime Minister, the French president. So TikTok, like the media communication has become the order of the day. Ambazonia can be left behind. Remember a few months ago or years ago, we tried to do simply text messages, TikTok, X things. And people were not able to do it. People of our generation have to learn how to do that. Because everybody is watching. Everybody is watching, the big and the small. I find that these things influence policymakers around the world. Most communications, most policies are now communicated by social media. Again, President Trump does a lot. You quote him on TikTok. You quote him on X. You quote him on social media, so we should not be left behind. Because it is, and we must know also that people are watching us. There's nothing you say there on TikTok or on Facebook or on WhatsApp that goes unnoticed. No. That's why YouTube, Facebook, and so they will sanction you if you put pictures they don't want there because they are following you. And so we should be useful to it. We should be careful with what we put there with the knowledge that people know what we say. And so it is a good thing for us, if we are not yet there, to be updated personally as an individual and collectively as a government. Because the time has passed that people used to go and sit in offices and send fax messages to other places. The time has long since passed. When people could go and what we see today in Cameroon, they say message. The presenting something that you cannot make any meaning out of it and call it a military secret. No, that message nonsense has since disappeared. The idea of trying to buy a fax machine to send things is gone. So she will be left behind? Certainly not. As individuals, we must be updated. As a government, we must be up to the point. Because even President Sarkozy, when he says something, is quoted on TikTok, is quoted on social media. So nothing is going unnoticed. Nothing is to be underestimated. Because this is where people know the influence. If you see on TikTok or even on Facebook, you see when you put something, you come out. How many people are following you? 300 followers, 300 followers. Even this broadcast that we do. After today, click it and see how many people have visited this site that we are talking here. How many people have listened to what Nsoh said, what I said, what you are saying. So we are now in a world there is no secret forest we have in Bangolan. The secret forest is the public media. And so we must not be left behind. Let us be up to date, again as individuals, then as a government. Over to you.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that. Vice Chancellor, please.
Paddy, when TikTok first came, the Americans tried to banish it. They tried to give it a name. They tried to destroy it. They tried to give it such a bad name. And TikTok has survived. And it's now one of the most important platforms for the media, for people to give their messages or whatever they have to the world. And it has a large following, more especially because of the young people. Young people watch TikTok more than any other media platform. Therefore, TikTok has become very important, and ABC Amba 24 cannot be left behind. And I must applaud to you, Paddy, and all those who are working towards that, to make sure that ABC Amba TV 24 must be heard and seen by the large majority of the world, especially the young people, because young people watch TikTok very, very closely, and we cannot be left behind. I think it's a very positive move. Let's take it on. Let's proceed with it and make use of it as much as possible. TikTok has now come to stay, thanks to President Trump, because it would have been destroyed long ago because it was tired a platform for Chinese propaganda. So now it is no longer. Now the world, everybody is on TikTok. Let's get it going. Thank you.
Indeed, everybody on TikTok. Let's get it going. And just to add, this is not just ABC. I want to repeat again. It is not just ABC Amba TV or ABC Networks 24 going on TikTok. No, this campaign is we are intentionally taking the people of the southern Cameroon, Ambazonia, from home and abroad. We are taking them on TikTok. We know a lot of you already have TikTok accounts, but this is what I observed when the elections were taking place in the Cameroons.
Paddy, you are cutting off. You are cutting off. Your network is not good. Your network is not so good.
Work on that. By I noticed what happened during the elections in Cameroon.
Your network is
all of them. I'm gonna work on it. Let us get into the newsroom now, and when we come back, I think the network would have been good. Stay tuned. Okay.
As global power rivalries intensify, Africa once again finds itself at the center of strategic courtship and quiet competition. When Russian President Vladimir Putin rolls out the red carpet for Madagascar's leader at the Kremlin, pledging deeper cooperation in energy, education, and international diplomacy. Is it simply partnership, or is that a calculated expansion of influence on the continent Africa? And when France swiftly denies deploying troops to the Democratic Republic of Congo after images surface of its soldiers in Kisangani, insisting its presence is only for training purposes, is this reassurance or a reminder of how deeply embedded foreign military interest remains in African security affairs? Well, from Moscow's renewed diplomatic embrace to European military training missions in conflict-prone regions, the question lingers, are these engagements empowering African nations to chart their own paths, or are global powers once again weighing in, shaping outcomes behind the language of cooperation and support? Well, tonight, let's examine the implications behind these developments and what they reveal about Africa's evolving role in the global balance of power. Welcome to... On the global news tonight, in a landmark decision on February 20th, 2026, the United States Supreme Court struck down the sweeping global tariffs that President Donald Trump had imposed, ruling that he lacked the legal authority to enact them under the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, IEPA. The court's 6-3 ruling, authored by Chief Justice John Roberts, emphasized that the Constitution clearly grants Congress, not the President, the power to levy taxes and tariffs, especially during peacetime. Now, this outcome ends the administration's ability to enforce the broad import taxes Trump had used on countries worldwide, including major trading partners like China, Mexico, and Canada, marking a significant check on presidential power and reshaping the United States trade policy. The tariffs had been central to President Trump's economic approach, designed not only to raise revenue, but also to pressure other nations into trade concessions and support United States priorities. So how did this ruling affect the President of the United States? Well, let's hear it in his own words.
The Supreme Court's ruling on tariffs is deeply disappointing, and I'm ashamed of certain members of the court, absolutely ashamed, for not having the courage to do what's right for our country. I'd like to thank and congratulate Justices Thomas, Alito, and Kavanaugh for their strength and wisdom and love of our country, which is right now very proud of those justices. When you read the dissenting opinions, there's no way that anyone can argue against them. There's no way. Foreign countries that have been ripping us off for years are ecstatic. They're so happy. And they're dancing in the streets, but they won't be dancing for long, that I can assure you. The Democrats on the court are thrilled, but they will automatically vote no. They're an automatic no, just like in Congress. They're an automatic no. They're against anything that makes America strong, healthy, and great again.
Well, analysts estimated that they might have generated hundreds of billions of dollars in revenue, with potential claims for refund now amounting to as much as $170 billion, which is a complex process the lower courts must now sort out. The ruling has triggered global market reactions, with stocks rallying initially due to reduced trade uncertainty. Trump reacted with fury, as you heard in that speech, speech denouncing the decision as a disgrace and accusing justice of undermining America's interest, while simultaneously issuing new executive directives to impose a temporary 10% tariff under alternative legal authority. The clash highlights ongoing tensions between the executive and judicial branches over the limits of presidential authority and underscores deep divisions over the United States' engagement in global trade. The decision reverberates well beyond the United States borders, affecting international trade relationships and injecting new uncertainty into global economic planning, particularly among governments and businesses that had adapted to President Trump's aggressive tariff regime. Now, away from the United States, we see Putin. Russian President Vladimir Putin welcomed Madagascar's President Mikhail Randrianirina to the Kremlin in a meeting that signaled an intention to expand bilateral cooperation across key strategic areas. Putin highlighted existing interesting directed interactions between the island nation and Russia, underscoring sectors such as agriculture, geological exploration, energy, medicine, healthcare, and education as foundational pillars for strengthened ties. He also noted that many young Madagascan students are already training at Russian higher education institutions, reflecting deeper people-to-people links. President Putin's remarks went further, affirming Russia's readiness to collaborate with Madagascar, not only through economic and technical initiatives, but also on humanitarian fronts and within international forums, including the United Nations. And this emphasis on multilateral engagement only reflects Moscow's broader foreign policy goal of cultivating influence in the global south, especially on the African continent, amid ongoing tensions with Western powers. Now, President Randrianirina, who assumed office amid political and economic challenges at home, framed the visit as part of Madagascar's wider diplomatic outreach. The presence of Russian military instructors earlier in the year training Malagasy forces on equipment such as drones illustrates the multifaceted nature of the partnership, extending beyond civilian cooperation to security collaboration. The meeting also with the Kremlin included expressions of sympathy for recent natural disasters on the island, with Putin offering condolences over a cyclone that claimed dozens of lives. Following the Moscow discussions, Randrianirina is expected to continue his diplomatic circuit with a planned visit to France, reflecting Madagascar's strategic balancing of global partnerships. Now, this engagement signifies Moscow's continued push to build robust diplomatic and economic relationships in Africa, leveraging shared interest in development and global governance amid shifting geopolitical alignments. Well, in France, we see it has publicly denied any unauthorized deployment of combat troops to the Democratic Republic of Congo, following the circulation of a photo that appeared to show French soldiers in Kisangani, a strategic northeastern city and logistics hub for the Congolese army. The French embassy in Kinshasa explained that the soldiers are part of a bilateral military training mission established with the Congolese government in 2022. And according to the embassy, the French army's role is purely instructional, focusing on building the capabilities of the FARDC's jungle battalions. This training program is set to continue through the end of March and reflects long-standing military cooperation rather than a response to any specific crisis. Belgium is conducting similar trainings under the European Peace Facility framework, while last year peacekeepers from the United Nations Organization Stabilization Mission in the DR Congo, MONUSCO, trained more than 1,000 Congolese soldiers to protect civilians in conflict-affected provinces such as Ituri, North Kivu, and South Kivu. The clarification comes amid continued insecurity in Eastern Democratic Democratic Republic of Congo, where armed groups against civilians they have perpetrated violence against civilians, prompting international attention and cooperation. Now, by emphasizing that French forces are present only to train Congolese troops at the invitation of Kinshasa, Paris aims to reassure both Congolese citizens and the broader international community of its non-combat role. This diplomatic statement underscores the sensitivity around foreign military images in the region and highlights the complexity of international support efforts in addressing multifaceted security challenges in the DRC. But these are the trending stories around the globe, and over to you now, Mr. Tarh.
I want to hope that let me hope that it is good now. Barrister Fru.
Yes, Paddy, your internet, your sound is not so good, but we can manage.
Yeah, I'm going to work on that. No problem. Go ahead. I think I know what is happening, but I'll work on it. Go ahead, please.
Oh, about what has just been. You want me to talk about
just watch before we get into.
Yes, I note with surprise and satisfaction about how Madagascar is diversifying its international outreach, international engagements with other countries, other important powers than the West. So it's not a good sign for the West, but the West has to sit up. The West has taken Africa for a very long time for granted. Now Africa is up for grabs, and those who offer better and engaging diplomatic outreach will win the day. The West has taken us for so long. They have exploited us. They have drained all our natural resources and impoverished rich countries like the Congo. Now the Congo is making Africa nervous by bringing again the French army into its territory to train them. And that is not a good sign for the African continent. I hope that the president of the Democratic Republic of Congo knows what he's doing, because Congo has suffered. One of the richest countries in the world has suffered a lot in the hands of the West, particularly those who are exploiting minerals in the Congo. And now Congo has gone and is trying to engage with the French once again, the French that are being kicked out of Africa. I just watched, Paddy, I watched a video how the young people in Gabon have told the French president directly and to his face that he should withdraw the French troops from Congo, from Gabon, and that all the agreements, colonial agreements with Gabon are going to be rescinded, and that the French imperialism should leave Gabon alone, and that Gabon should be allowed to select its own leaders to govern them. And that is something that just 1 or 2 years ago you will not hear coming from Gabon. Therefore, Africa is on the move, and Madagascar has taken the lead in trying to get the Russians not to exploit them, but to have meaningful diplomatic relations. And as long as Africa now can have a right to go to have friends all over the world other than from the West, I think it's a good thing for the African continent.
Mbeseha, talking about what even happened in Gabon, I think I'd like you to comment. But I want you to comment details of something that is happening in Gabon. By Mbeseha, please.
Well, uh, you want me to comment on what is happening in Gabon, but I would rather want to
No,
comment
not
on what
just
is happening.
Gabon. I want you to talk on. I want you to talk on everything. But there's something happening in
Yes,
Gabon now. That
yes,
Fru has
There is
made. We
yes.
talk
something. There
about
is
it.
something.
There's something happening in Gabon.
Yeah.
I wanted to say that Gabon is just symbolic. See, I don't know how often we've argued here on something they call Pan-Africanism. Africa must be this, Africa must be that. And I wonder what we're talking about. These countries are supposed to be independent. And if you see what's happening in Gabon, what's happening in the Congo, Kinshasa, they're talking about bilateral agreements, whether it is the Russians, the French, or whoever. I can tell you, and I dare somebody challenge me, those things are not bilateral. Because bilateral means that you receive something in return for something you give. Yes, there are military officers from Russia or from from the US or anywhere training your forces under bilateral agreement. What are you giving to them in return, military-wise? Can you find a single Gabonese, a single Congolese, a single Cameroonian somewhere in Russia trying to give some expertise to Russian soldiers? Zero, absolutely zero. And so these people are beggars who have no meaning at all. And then, of course, you come to Africa as a bloc. If it is Cameroon, if it is Gabon, you're going to find Gabonese who are financially educated. They have all the education in the world. Why do they need this so-called foreign expertise, be it from Europe, be it from the West or from the East? If you can, let us take Cameroon where we are so close to. The Cameroons have an army, a very large army. Most of them, at least generals. What are these generals doing? What did they do to earn the rank of generals? If they are generals, why can't they train their own soldiers? If they are generals. In Cameroon, for example, we have seen generals used to be chicken servants of Mr. Whether we listen to President something, A, B, or a general is a rank reserved for the army. It's reserved for your performance, something. They are not doing this. And then they will go and tell me Africa is going so well. Africa is going where? Africa is going nowhere. They have imprisoned themselves, not the white man. If you make yourself a slave, you become a slave. If you cannot assert your own right, I will employ you in my house as a kitchen boy and pay you the salary or I don't pay you, you do nothing. And so this idea of Western people doing this and that, the so-called agreement they signed in 1959, Cote d'Ivoire. The question was, were these agreements, are they not revisable? Have they been revisited for the past 50, 60 years? Is it because the Cameroonians, the Ivorians, the Nigerians, whoever you call them, don't have the ability to revise these things? These agreements were in principle voidable because these countries were made. You could challenge them after they became independent. But they became independent 60 years ago or more. But rather than challenge them, they have bought into them. How old was Tinubu, for example, in 1960? How old was Paul Biya? And so on and so forth. And you, in that context, you see people, Mr. Tinubu, inviting some 200 Americans to come to Nigeria and train million or 100,000 Nigerian military people how to fight Boko Haram. Really? Is that not a joke? And unless I made a mistake, I remember this week, just this week ending, we saw a picture. They claim that they have arrested some Boko Haram people in Cameroon. They're essentially based in Nigeria. But they arrested one. Among them, the one they arrested, whose picture we saw, was a white man. This is a white Boko Haram guy. Is this man from Nigeria? Is he an Hausa man? Is he a Fulani man? Certainly not. He's a white man, either from the east or the west, but he's from Europe. He's from Europe. And then you are asking this expertise to come, for them to come and train you how to fight these your own local criminals. self-inflicted wounds. If the Nigerian army, for example, more than 100,000 in number, cannot fight 5,000 Boko Haram people, that they need the Americans, they need the French, they need the British to fight them. If the Congolese government in Kinshasa cannot fight those rebels there, they need a training. Come in. This is a thick forest. Is there a thick forest? Certainly not. So if they cannot know how to train people forest, they expect the Russians to come and teach them. Zero. Why are they teaching them by their own vision? They are teaching them how to manage drones. Is to repair drones in Kinshasa. Is there a place to repair drones in Lagos? They teach them how to manipulate what they have brought. If they get back, they take it back home. The poor African is there saying that has been trained how to manipulate. But what is wrong with an African, be it a Cameroonian, a Nigerian, a Ghanaian, having the technology that the very white man has? And I'm sure those drone trainers, Russia, from the US, or anywhere, sat in the same classroom with black people. And the black guys from Ghana, from Cameroon, from Nigeria beat them on the road. And today, where are they? They're somewhere filtering through the bushes. Why? Because their own governments have refused to be responsible. They refuse to exploit them. But you're sitting here and talking. Everybody admires you there. But how long will it take for you to become even the chief of service in the CRTV? If you know all the expertise in the world? Zero. You will not get there. And then they will come and tell you where they are bringing people to go and train people how to broadcast news in Yaoundé, or to go and broadcast news in Lagos, or Abuja, or Abidjan, because they lack Africans to do that. No. Until the Africans stand up and say enough is enough. And they've seen it. Burkina Faso did not need to go to London to get people to go and tell France enough is enough. The people of Niger, Mali, which was the largest empire in Africa, did not need to go to France, to Russia, to anywhere in the world, to China, to tell them that go and tell France, we don't know the value of our uranium, because if you put it in the basket, we will never know what it means. But we can sell it for the price that it is worth. They don't need that. You just need Africans, wherever they are, from Cairo to Cape Town, to assert their own responsibilities. In terms of Africa, we have all the human know-how, but our governments have refused to use us. They have refused to exploit what they have as their own manpower. They have decided to do this thing for the white man. Why? Because behind every African leader, most of them, not everyone, they have foreign bank accounts in Switzerland. How big is Switzerland? It's not even to Ambazonia. But Switzerland has established banks that are reliable, that people from Cameroon, from Nigeria can hide money there because it's a reliable bank. Switzerland is not even off the state in Nigeria in terms of size, in terms of population. And so, all this, we have been pleading to Norway. How big is Norway? How big is Sweden? That are holding people accountable for all these things that they're not doing. Yes, but Sweden is in the West. Norway is in the West. Switzerland is in the West. And of course, those people, these few countries I've named, they never had any colonies. We don't have a Swedish colony anywhere, a Norwegian colony anywhere. But they have exploited their own expertise in banking, military-wise, in economics, and everything that you can talk about. Until, again, I've insisted this many times before, until the African sits up and agrees in principle that the knowledge that is in the head of the white man, the same knowledge is in the head of the black man, and exploit the best of theirs, then shall we talk of Africa. Africa that talks of bilateral agreement without a corresponding response. We have seen this week many Africans, including Cameroon, dying in Russia, fighting for the Russians. How many of those guys, hundreds of them, were commanding units in Russia? They commanded nobody. The white man commanded them there, and they died, and they brought back their corpses, but they were trained. But how often can you find even a French captain coming to fight in Ambazonia? No. If a French captain came here, he will be the commander, not just an ordinary fighter.
Not just an ordinary fighter.
Yes, but because he's French, he will command the unit. I remember emphatically in the 1960s, 70s, when we started doing law. What French technical advisors in the Ministry of Justice? These people were people who had capacity in law, but they were the directors in the Ministry of Justice, directing Cameroonian lawyers like St. Muna, like Muna, like Tabon, like all those people that were trained in Oxford, in London, until they took time before they were sent away. And so until the African assess himself, well, we still have time.
Mr. Mbeseha, let me come in there. What you have just mentioned is really just similar things that Mr. Fru said. Mr. Fru, I'm giving you the mic now. It only highlights one thing. Like Mr. Fru had a concern. Mr. Fru said, how is Congo still allowing France? The question that is troubling everyone right now is the need that African leadership, like big Nigeria, is still depending so much on to lead their own people. I'll give a good example before we move. I just gave it Nigeria. But look at what is happening in Gabon. I have always, Mr. Fru, you know, I've had this discussion with you many times. I've always been suspicious of the coup d'etat, the so-called in Gabon. That was just a drama. That was a precipitated French move because they were suspecting that a real coup was going to take place that would have replaced that leadership, and they will have somebody they don't have control. So it's troubling to see that more than half a century after a supposed independence in Africa, we are still where we are, by Mr. Fru.
Paddy, I don't like to think so negatively now, because the young people, what Barrister Mbeseha said, it has to do with the old colonial people that were settled by the French to do their bidding, or not only by the French, by the West to do their bidding. Look at what has happened. The Sahel is being liberated. Gabon young people have told Macron to his face, we want you to withdraw your forces. We don't want French imperialism again in Gabon. We want to rescind all the colonial laws and agreements that you had with Gabon. Gabon is now free. Gabon wants to be free. Well, leave Gabon alone. That was being told him by a group of young people sitting on the table. I saw the video, and that was the visit of Macron to Gabon. It just to tell you that the coup that took place to Gabon was French-inspired, French-led, and the French imposed that man who is now calling himself the president of Gabon. Young people are rising. It is happening in Chad. It is happening in Gabon. It has happened in Mali, Burkina Faso, and Chad, many other African countries in the Sahel. They are leading the way to liberate Africa. If we keep saying that Africa is going nowhere, what are we doing? Discouraging the young people from doing what they are doing?
Look at this. Look at it this way. I'll come in there. You conclude. You conclude on that point. Then Barrister Mbeseha will speak. Let me just add up to something. Look at Africa as we speak right now. Let's go down history a little bit. Sankara moved of the way. Patrice Lumumba was a youth leader, like you're seeing. I'm just trying to say, even Idi Amin, that they called a tyrant leader. As we speak right now, in the Cameroons, we just saw the way the youthful movement has been dismantled, even though they were hoping that Chiruma was going to help them get that transition. Now in Gabon, you are talking about a man in Gabon in front of leaders of the country. He claims now to be a civilian, though he was a military man that took over. and he was the other day and telling them that means he's not even using legal processes to talk. There was no decorum in his speech. Kemi Ashu shared that video. I had watched it before, but when I see it on Kemi Ashu's wall, I am more committed to like, okay, because sometimes I don't want to listen. But I listen to it, I'm like, how do you talk like that? Even if you felt that the salaries of these people were much. So you see, the tyranny and the dictatorship, there is a hegemony that is currently being built, I suspect, with the orchestration of France in Gabon. And I'm just thinking, how do some of these youths that are not from the Sahel that are used to arms, how do they really help, especially in Central Africa? Because that does happen in time to really topple these tyrants and dictators. Chad it has not worked in Chad. One would have thought that it would work in Chad. It didn't work in Chad. Chadians have tried a couple of times. It has not worked. So it is something that I'd like for us to have vision. Like, how do African youths, especially in some of these countries, in Nigeria, for instance, how do they get themselves out of this quagmire? They vote elections, the old men will steal it. France and the leaders put them. It is complex, Barrister Fru, please. Go ahead. I just wanted to add up to what you're saying.
Paddy,
Really
let me start by saying this. How did Burkina Faso do it? How did Mali do it? How did Niger do it? The young people in Gabon are rising up. Whether they will succeed or fail, it's a good sign, and every African should encourage it. Chad is trying. The young man in Chad who was imposed by the French is beginning to think otherwise. The question is, can Chad succeed? It is still a question to be answered. But let's not dwell on the shackles of colonialism and destroy what is happening on the continent led by the youths. The young people these days are getting more look at what Gabon has just done. Ban social media because of young people in Gabon. Because they have seen that the young people are going to topple them. That the young people are talking. They have told the French that stop imposing leaders on us. They have told the French that withdraw your troops. They have told the French that we want the colonial agreements rescinded. Allow us to do our thing and sell our goods and our resources at market price. That's what the youths are saying. They may not succeed, but it's a good sign. The revolution is on. Let us, the old people, not dampen it by saying Africa is going nowhere. That is a negative thing to say to the African youth. That's just what I'm trying to say, Paddy. The movement is on. The movement is on, and it's led by the people of Sahel. That's what I was trying to let us know. We have a duty.
Mbeseha, I want you to come in here. Yeah, I want Mbeseha, I'd like you to come in here now. I think for everyone who is watching us, this is a time for us to stand for the people of Gabon. Because what is happening in Gabon happened to Southern Cameroons. Every time you challenge the French hegemony in Africa, they use their leaders or their governors that they call president there, like Biya or like the guy in Gabon right now, to go rogue. Because in the 21st century, at the time when the world is embracing and escalating to extraordinary heights when it comes to the media, it is inconceivable to find a president have the audacity to shut internet from a youthful generation. There is no justice. So I'm calling on everybody. It's the time for youthful bloggers. It's a time for you to stand for Gabon.
Correct.
Because the intention is to seal that country and shoot and kill the youths. and impose on them to follow a hegemony. Barrister Mbeseha, please. And I really want you,
Well,
Barrister Mbeseha, to speak because you have really worked, Barrister Mbeseha, you have worked in the field in Africa. If there's one person on this platform, I think the both of you have that competence, but you already worked in a war zone and you know the way France operates in Africa. I really, really would like to hear you talk on this issue. It's very important. Yeah, go ahead,
see,
Barrister Mbeseha.
again, I've said, you see, being a young person is not different from anywhere else in the world. You talked of Idi Amin, Mobutu. When they came to power, they were young. They were not as old as Pobia. They were young people. But they were still manipulated.
Yeah.
Go back to Gabon.
Yeah.
If I saw the video and the other information correctly, Omar Bongo, who died, the guy who was overthrown, who made two sentences, make a noise,
Ali Bongo.
Yeah, where is he today? He's in London. He lives in London. I saw a video of him there in London. Because that's where he finds shelter with his money. And so the youths in Gabon, the youths in Cameroon, saying what they say is perfectly right. But would that bring down the system? I doubt it. I doubt it. Because the system, the problem with Africa is the institutions. And you have mentioned, I said it here, when we went to Cote d'Ivoire, they complained of the ordinary guy in the street where we went to, what the civil society there. They told us that Cote d'Ivoire has a problem because of the 1959 agreements of 60. That was signed with France. And France dominates Cote d'Ivoire more than in Cameroon even. And then the question I asked personally was, since 1959 to 60 and independence, why have they not changed these agreements? The agreement did not say that it should never be changed. The Ivorians, who were very young at the time, telling me this story, could not change it because of the institutions. After they fought what they fought the civil war. And what did they do? They brought Ouattara to power. What has happened to the youth that led that revolution, the first Nouvelle? Guillaume Soro, who were very young, where are they today? They have been simply sidelined institutionally. The same thing happens in Cameroon. Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger are completely different because those guys are young, but they are not dependent on institutions. They are military guys. You ask yourself, before Ibrahim Traore, who is just a colonel, what is he, or a captain, whatever it is, were there no generals in the Burkina army? There were generals there. Were there no generals in the Niger army or Mali? They were. Where are those generals? They have been neutralized by the youth, by those young gentlemen. Look at what happened in Cameroon. We just had elections in Cameroon. The bulk of the people who voted Issa Chiroma, that we all believe won, were the youth, the younger people who voted for him. Why did they vote for him, to the best of my knowledge? Because he said, I will go in and do change. I will do institutional changes, reforms. That will possibly change all those institutions. They stole the elections from him. What did the other class of politicians, who are basically old people? There's nobody in the other class, from Issa Chiroma, from Osi, to Ndamjoya, to Buba Bello. There's no one who is less than 65, 70 years old. Why did they not stand up to support Chiroma? They did not want institutional changes. They wanted no reforms. They wanted to take their turn if they want and remain there 7 years, exploit the people the way they wanted. And by the time they're 7 years and if they didn't die, they'll probably hand it over to their wives, just like Pobia is doing. So I'm not being so negative. I'm simply saying that these institutional things that are there, the African need a change. But the African change will not come the way they are doing it. It will come from the African not just talking, but going down the streets and taking, it's a risk. Someone will die. But until you are prepared to change, to challenge the status quo. Why are the youth in Cameroon, for example, not rising against Pobia, who everybody, most people know that he's dead politically? But people are being manipulated. The youths everywhere, in Garoua, in Bertua, wherever in Cameroon, who are in the majority want change, they are being manipulated. By who? By something in Cameroon, you find something they call an Assemblée Nationale. That has never elected voted any law of its own.
Okay.
To the best of my knowledge, all the laws in Cameroon that have been voted from 1960 have come from the presidency. It is written in their constitution. Any law that does not come from the presidency will not be debated. It is not even there.
Yeah.
After that, right there, the very law comes from the presidency. It is written down somewhere in that very law. They will say the president will make a decree to complement this. There's no rule who consults the president to make a decree. It can come from his wife. It can come from his friend. It can come to him in a dream. He makes the decree to do what he wants. And basically, that is what is going on. Why is Cameroon in their constitution declare your assets? Why did not declare it? As we speak, there's corruption going on. Everybody knows that. But why? Because they are waiting for a president to take a decree of implementation.
To make a decree.
Who tells you that Mr. Pobia will take a decree to implement his wife, to implicate his wife, or to implement
So that's
where I am. Let me learn. I'm simply saying that Africans should learn to do more than talking. Take the action. If all the opposition people in Cameroon had supported Chiroma, for example, Pobia will be gone. He will be gone. But it's said in there, everybody looking to go back to the new government. The whole talk now is formation of a new government to see who will get there.
The same people that were fighting before it was long, they turned against him and started criticizing him that he didn't have a plan. Instead of them taking action, they were criticizing the man who had sacrificed his life for them. And that's the problem. And I'm both correct in what you're saying. From one hand, Barrister Fru is saying we need to inspire these youths because they are already doing some things. We need to really inspire them, which I agree. On the other hand, Mbeseha is saying that, hey, you need to do more than talking. Take action like the youth in Gabon now. They're about to take action like the Southern Cameroonians did in 2016 and were cut off internet. But they need to do more than talking. They need to fight. These people, if we did not mount pressure, Biya will keep Ambazonia shut down. But pressure. So we are thinking that started, you don't need to stop. Mr. Fru, please briefly, so that we can get into the newsroom and take.
Yeah, briefly. Let me say this. Let me say this. The weapons of repression are still in the hands of the old heads. Biya has used the weapons that were at his disposal to bring down the youths. Where the youth voted for Chiroma because they saw changes coming. And the youth are the ones paying the price now in jail because Biya used his military might. He uses the institution that Mbeseha is talking about to perpetuate himself in power. Even if the whole opposition voted for, the whole Cameroon voted for Chiroma, Biya will still stay the election because he has the means put at his disposal by the imperialists. He has everything available. He has. Let me finish, Paddy. Let me finish. He has the money. He has the money. He has every weapon of repression at his disposal. But the youth are fighting back. If anybody thinks, let me finish now. Let me finish. Paddy, let me finish. I am saying that as long as the youth are fighting, even in Gabon, we have a duty to encourage, to give them the opportunity to fight. If you keep saying, what are they doing? What are they doing? When you see them dying on the street, they died on the streets of Cameroon. Listen now, listen to me. The youth died on the streets of Cameroon. The youth are in jail.
Mr. Fru, I understand with you and I agree with you. And that's why I think that Biya has three strong assets. Biya has even Western support. Because the West is not taking action against him. Because he is a governor, an imperialist governor of the West. So you are very correct, Barrister Fru. And that's why Barrister Mbeseha is saying that the youths must take it to the next level, like they have done in the How? No, we should not just be talking. Let me explain. The both of you are very correct. I'm trying to make a middle ground. Listen, before 2016, 2017, in fact, Fongoji Dinka had one of the biggest conclaves in the world preached to them. Action was not taken. A step moved further when President Sako came on the scene in 20. If today the story of the Saudi Cameroons is different because we took it a step further. Youth
and you know who took it a step. Excuse me. Do you know who took it a step?
Let me finish, please. What I'm trying to say, Barrister Fru, is that during the elections, the October elections, I blamed the youths in La République du Cameroun for one reason. You cannot use the same strategy to achieve another result. In the first place, Elekam is loyal to Mr. Biya. It would have been better. It would have been better for you to count those votes and be ready to defend the votes. To die anyway. Why? So that's my point. I would have encouraged the youth at altar, and he's telling the youth of Iran to fight, to continue protesting. It's a point where we fight against dictatorship. I don't understand, why did they stop fighting? Why? There is no legal or diplomatic process that can get Biya out. If you want to get Biya out, you must be ready to move in front of their bullets to a 2D and get him out. Or you keep crying. That's what we are saying, Barrister Fru. You cannot remove Biya from an election or a normal protest. Biya will wait, you will protect you, and the protest will end.
Can I conclude? Can I conclude?
Yes, conclude, please.
What I am saying is that the youths have paid the price. The youths continue to pay the price. Ambazonian youths have put us where we are now, at the point of having our nation. They have given the all to it. They have died on the battlefront. Not us, the older people. The youth have given their all. The youth in Cameroon, they died during those elections. If anybody thinks that they didn't pay enough, how much is enough? Look at how many are in jail, paying the price, and you say they're not doing enough. What are you doing? Discouraging them from starting? No. Listen to me. No. I will not go to the youth of Iran because that's an Islamic. They have their own thinking, their own religion, their own way of doing things. I'm talking about Africa. The youth of Africa. If Burkina Faso can do it, if Mali can do it, if Niger can do it, why not the rest of the youths around the continent? They are moving. And for us to sit in a television station in the West and say the youth, they need to do more. How much more? How much more? Do you know how many died? 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 Listen up, Paddy. Do you know how many died in Cameroon? Do you know how many died in Cameroon?
What I'm saying,
more than 70.
You're missing the point. Barrister Fru, what I'm saying is that you are missing the point.
What point am I missing?
This is the point. The
point
you're missing
is the seconds. Let me explain something which we are missing here.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Is it to me?
Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Mbeseha. Yeah, go ahead.
Now, this is the point. Mr. Nsoh, listen to me also. This is the point. You see, in Africa, I'm insisting, talking is not enough. Just take Ambazonia as a case and follow me attentively. In the 1990s, what they come, what SCNC, what SCAPO, they were all came 2016.
All talk.
SCAPO was talking, came, the consortium was talking. January 2017. Talking more for just something else. I think January.
And who are those who pay the price?
Let me finish now, Mbeseha. January 11th, the talking took a different step. When Tarh said, come Monday, you will see who owns Ambazonia. That was the beginning of the ghost town. On Monday 14th, the ghost town was respected worldwide in Ambazonia. What did Yaoundé do? I said, take it as a case study. Yaoundé realized that this is no longer talking. 14th January, General goes down. 3 days after that, 17th January, Paul Biya banned the consortium. They banned the SCNC. Because they realized that they were no longer talking like 1993, 1994, and so on and so forth. They are now taking a step that challenged them physically on the ground. Let me learn. And then, what did they do? They realized the Ambazonia, let us take it as a case study, was not that way. The thing had taken a different step. That was January. Came October. The Ambazonia did not just talk again. They created an interim government. That was October 30th. Yeah. They created an interim government to tell them that we're no longer just talking, we're taking physical steps right now. What did Paul Biya do? A month into that, 30th November, Paul Biya declared war because they had ceased to be talking. Talking has been over, it has become something realistic. Yes. He declared war on us. That did not end. What did Paul Biya do? We realized he was no longer talking. He came now to January 2018. They went to Nigeria and captured Ayuktabe with the idea of killing the idea of the government. And then it has transitioned to where we are today. So I'm insisting. Yeah, the record is clear now. I'm insisting that youth in Gabon, youth in anywhere in Africa, must do more than just talking. Like just like the Ambazonians, we did more than the SCNC. We did more than SCAPO. When Tarh, I don't know where he consulted with anybody, Tarh declared on January 14, 13, 11th, that come Monday, you will see who owns Ambazonia. And Monday came, Yaoundé realized that they did not own Ambazonia. They could not control the crowd. And what did they do? They started throwing bombs, they burned down the villages, they killed everybody. As the thing ended, we are now, the international community now intervening, talking at least. That's what I mean. That Africans, everyone rage change.
Can we now say that?
We're not undermining the.
Can we now conclude? Can we now say that Africa? Look, can we now say that Africa is going nowhere because the youth are only talking? I would argue that the youth are talking and doing.
Mr. Fru,
I remember I didn't say that.
See, nobody has said that Africa is going nowhere. We are saying.
Oh, but Mbeseha said it. But no. Let's be honest. He said it. He said, as long as they are talking, they are going nowhere. Africa will go nowhere. What is that supposed to mean?
Mr. Fru, this is the implication. Mr. Fru, this is the implication of this conversation. The point is, African youths must be ready to start. There's this normal phalanx where you're moving and somebody tells you no start things, especially guys who are talking to women, most especially. They will tell you no start with you, no finish up. Look at October 2025 will go down history as the shortest revolution that took place in neighboring French Cameroon after a tremendous opportunity.
You know why?
Even the one of, no, just a minute, but Mr. Fru, let me finish. Even what happened in Kamto had a longer resistance. The Burmese and the what they call the Kamto followers of Kamto resisted for even close to 6 months. They had a television. The Kamto situation, Kamto had to go to the point that Macron had to get him out. They resisted much longer than the Chirumis.
All right. All right. All right. No.
But the fruit the left want to give is that we applaud everybody that takes an initiative, but we think that you should know Africa well to know the initiatives that work in Africa. Don't start what you're not going to finish. Don't sacrifice the lives of people and they die and you stop. The reason why Ambazonians are still fighting today is because they are aware of those whose blood will go in vain if they stop. That's one of the reasons Ambazonians are fighting.
Yes.
Because so many have already died. So many have died.
Yes. Let me also say this. If anybody thinks thinks that the revolution in La République de Cameroon is over, it means he is not following the events in Cameroon. Look at what is happening in the north, all the three northern regions. Look at what happened on 11th of February in the north. Look at what is happening in the north. Can you tell me, sitting here in the west, tell me that the revolution that took place in Cameroon on the 12th of October or when after the 12th of October is finished? Have you been to the north? Can this government, the La République government, successfully govern the north, the northern, the extreme north, and Adamawa? You think that it's only come to that did it, and the west was quiet? Look at what is happening in the north, and tell me whether this whole thing between Chiruma and Bia is over. If you can tell me that it's over, I will agree with you. But it's not over, my dear man. It is not over because La République de Cameroon is unable to govern the northern regions right now as we speak.
Okay, point taken. We hope that they make progress.
And it's the youth. Let me finish. It's the youth that are leading the way.
We hope that
they are the young people, and they are the ones who paid the price by dying. More than 70 of them died during this October revolution.
We have agreed.
My focus is on the youth. My focus is on the youth. My focus is on the youth of the African continent. Let's give them the chance to play the role that they are playing, to push the imperialists out of our continent so that our continent can be liberated. The old people will not do it because they are eating fat from the imperialists.
With you, Barrister, but please coordinate the program, please. I'm trying to say that I agree with you, and we hope that the strategy they are employing is going to succeed. Nobody's taking from the youth. The youth should not wait for people to give them the opportunity. A sound youth, because like on social media every day, the youths are the ones that are sabotaging the effort of those who were fighting for change in Yaoundé right now. A cross section of them because of beer and Mimbo. So it is sad that the North is even doing what they are doing. Yaoundé and Douala and the other people. Because if you're fighting in La République of Cameroon and you're fighting in the North, it was better that it's Ambazonia that was fighting and they were ignoring. If there's something in La République du Cameroon and they were unable to do 3 ghost towns, then there's a problem. I hope that they use that strategy, they really succeed. Because even Mbeseha in France, that was an activist talking. A few days later, he forgot he's supposed to be talking and he started talking about Ito. I just saw him as a very confused activist. After election, they distracted you with Nations Cup, and everybody started talking about Nations Cup. Cameroon is so good in that. So let's make progress. I think Tabitha or Nye has some reports for us at the home front. Let's look at it and we'll be back.
Good evening, Ambazonia. Now heading over to news coming on from the home front. We got this report from Moiko. Tension is mounting in Moiko after 4 uniformed soldiers were reportedly caught on camera taking 1,000 francs CFA from a young man inside a local bar and seizing his mobile phone on the accusation that he was involved in online scamming. According to a source who was present in the bar and later spoke to Undaunted, the soldiers entered the premises and began questioning the young man without presenting a warrant. Witnesses claim the officer searched through his phone, scrolling from picture to picture while accusing him of being a scammer. The situation allegedly ended with the young man handing over 1,000 francs CFA before his phone was returned. The incident, which has reportedly been captured on video, has sparked new accusations from residents and activists who say such confrontations reflect a broader pattern of harassment and extortion to get in civilians, particularly those perceived to be sympathetic to the Ambazonia liberation movement. Critics of the military presence in Ambazonia have long alleged that some elements within the security forces engage in intimidation, arbitrary arrest, and informal monetary demands at Ambazonia. Not just there, also in checkpoints, bars, and other public spaces. They argue that these practices create an atmosphere of fear and mistrust between civilians and the armed forces. Some residents further allege that in previous years, violent incidents in drinking establishments have occurred under tense circumstances, with victims sometimes labeled as Amber Boys, a term commonly used to describe the Ambazonian State Army. Community members expressing concern say they worry that confrontations over money or suspicion could escalate dangerously, especially in an environment already strained by years of conflict. Human rights advocates have called for transparent investigation into such incidents, emphasizing the need for accountability and adherence to due process. They warn that unchecked misconduct, if proven, risks deepening grievances in a region already affected by instability. Well, at the time of this report, there has been no official statement from military authorities in Cameroons regarding the alleged incident in Moiko. Efforts to obtain comments were ongoing. Now we see that tensions persist in Ambazonia. Residents say they are hoping for greater oversight, dialogue, and measures that ensure civilian protection while addressing legitimate security concerns. This is development coming right here from Moiko. Now moving ahead and bringing you over to this report in Kimbo. A young man in his late 20s has been shot dead in Kumbo during a clash between government soldiers and fighters of the Ambazonian State Army at Mbeseha, widely regarded as the commercial hub of the town. The victim, identified as Fonyo Generic, was killed during an exchange of gunfire in Mbeseha, an area that has repeatedly become a flashpoint for confrontations between the military and the fighters. Sources who spoke to Undaunted said Generic had been living in Yaoundé before his family brought him back to Kumbo about a year ago and have reportedly began experiencing mental health challenges. A close acquaintance of the deceased told Undaunted that at some points in the past, soldiers encountered Generic wandering in town and searched him, allegedly discovering various contraband drugs in his possession. According to the source, members of the local community intervened and informed the soldiers that Generic was mentally unstable. The population pleaded with the military, explaining that he was not mentally stable, the source said. But the colonial military insisted he was pretending. They then said he would be moving with them wherever they went so that he would not get into any trouble. Residents say that both the colonial military and the Ambazonian State Army were generally aware of Generic's mental condition and had not previously harmed him, despite him often wandering into fenced areas. However, we see that yesterday's confrontation turned fatal. Sources allege that Generic had been moving with soldiers at the time of the clash. Although he was reportedly given a bulletproof vest by the colonial troops, he was struck in the abdomen during the exchange of fire and died instantly. Witnesses further alleged that after he was shot, the colonial soldiers he had been accompanying left his body at the scene in Mbeseha. Fighters of the Ambazonian State Army later retrieved the corpse and transported it to Kikayakoma on the outskirts of Kumbo for burial. The circumstances surrounding the incident have raised serious questions among residents, Chief also. Why was a civilian, particularly one said to be suffering from mental health challenges, moving around with armed colonial military personnel during active operations? Local observers argue that the use of civilians in or around military movements, especially in volatile zones like Mbeseha, exposes them to grave danger and may contravene established norms designed to protect non-combatants during conflict. Well, as of the time of this report, colonial military authorities in Cameroon had not issued an official statement regarding the incident. Now we see that the killing of Fru John Nsoh adds to growing concerns about civilian safety in Kumbo and other parts of the north of Ambazonia, where recurring clashes continue to place non-combatants at significant risk. This is development coming right here from the home front. But then to give more emphasis and then more comments surrounding this report, we'll be heading it over to our news director, Mr. Tarh, and our commentators.
Yeah. So even as we are talking, can you hear me?
Yes.
So even as we are talking around, this is what is happening in Ambazonia. And I like the fact that we always wet the ground with what is happening in the world and what is happening in Ambazonia at this time of war. We're going to be talking on the best for the last, on negotiations and dialogue. We'll look at a certain headline that came because they said Chris Ano is ready or is positioning himself to dialogue with you. And I had a lot of questions. But before we even get into that, I want you, by Fru, just examine some of these reports, and we will talk on that very briefly. After we've examined these reports, we'll get into that subject. Please, by Fru.
Look, Paddy, international negotiations are between the parties in conflict. The parties in conflict are institutional parties in conflict between one government or another, or between one fighting group, one fighting elements, and the government in power. Fighting, the negotiations are between the belligerents, those who are fighting. Those who are fighting led by their various governments. In the case of Ambazonia, the negotiations between La République du Cameroon military and the Ambazonian State Army. These institutions put up their own teams of those to negotiate for them. They are represented by governments. The government of La République du Cameroon and the government of the Southern Cameroon and Ambazonia are the ones that are the parties in conflict. Each party builds its negotiating team based on its components. In the case of Ambazonia, the Southern Cameroon's Ambazonia, is the Southern Cameroon's government in exile and those in the other organizations of the Southern Cameroon who believe in the liberation and the independence of the Southern Cameroons. An individual who is an enemy who has declared himself an enemy to the people of the southern Cameroons and Ambazonia, cannot on his own offer to negotiate on behalf of the people of the southern Cameroons and Ambazonia. And that person is Chris Anu. Chris Anu is well known to have dealt with La République du Cameroon and is now well known for defending a presidential candidate in La République du Cameroon on his airwaves, on his established personal television. How can he now claim that he thinks he can negotiate for the people of the southern Cameroons? It is a tragedy on his part, because he is making himself a laughing stock. Because nobody knows Chris Anu in this conflict, but they know the La République forces and the forces of the southern Cameroons and Ambazonia fighting for the liberation of the southern Cameroons. They know the government of La République and they know the government of the southern Cameroons and Ambazonia in exile. Those are the two parties to the conflict. So where does Chris Anu situate himself? He will be negotiating on whose behalf? On the behalf of southern Cameroons or on his personal behalf? Who is he? Who is Chris Anu? If anybody can answer me that question, that is where I am. Who is Chris Anu?
Okay, I wanted us to examine. You have fast forwarded a discussion, and I did not want to interrupt to examine the reports that came in from the ground before we even get into what he's saying, because why he's trying to do whatever he's doing, seeking for noticing, even things that he's not aware of. I think it's important for us to focus on the things that really matter the people on a daily basis, which is what I want us to talk on. But since you have already taken us there, I want to read this caption from the Guardian Post again. This is a very stupid newspaper. Anytime I see Nsoh or Northwest and Southwest, it's troubling. It says armed conflict. I'm happy that they use the word armed conflict. Armed conflict, breakthrough in sight. That's a man that wants to sell a paper. He knows that the world will want to see this. So it's a separatist leader, Chris Anu, in a memorandum, set stage for dialogue with government. This is a man who doesn't even understand the difference between the referendum, the plebiscite, a federation,
and a confederation.
So he was given an opportunity by Sisiko, the biggest opportunity of his life, or the setting the stage for discussions that he really doesn't even understand. That's my concern. So he says, an armed conflict has been raging in the Northwest. That is at least honest of this reporter. This is what Cameroon is denying globally, that I appreciate. An armed conflict raging in the Northwest and the Southwest regions for close to, I know as a newspaper, you cannot say Southern Cameroons, for close to a decade reporting like that, but the appellation of the name, I protest against it. For close to a decade, efforts stealing and producing little concrete results. Accurate reporting, but it's not just peace we want. There's a difference between peace when there's no justice. I think the people of the South are seeking for justice. A breakthrough. This is that word breakthrough brings some kind of chill into my body, because this is a fact. Chris Anu does not have sufficient leverage, which Cameroon is aware of. They tried to use him in 2021, and he didn't succeed. Chris Ano himself knows that this is so much hype. This is excess hype of his able to do. The conscience he has been having prior to this time, Chris Ano is very much aware. So this, I'm looking at this report as a propaganda stunt of La République du Cameroon once again. They are still trying to see if they can throw a bet. That's my opinion. I may be wrong. See if they can use Chris Ano, because Chris Ano has said he wants federation. So they will easily align to Chris Ano. A newspaper like this will never say that in 2018, 2019, President Sako was open for the Swiss talks. And this brings us back to the efforts that this government has put in place to see that this conflict ends. I tell people every day that the Ambazonian government is more interested in ending this war than Biya is. By Mbeseha, please talk to us. I'm sure you would have read this paper in full and even some of the reactions. Please come.
I read it, but before we get there, I thought we would have addressed the two issues you raised before.
Yes, please.
You raised the issue of
please go ahead.
They raised the issue of this guy in Moliko extorting money from people in the bar. And I would want to insist that that is manifest extortion. Even Cameroonian law, I guess, prohibits soldiers in uniform to go into drinking places and start to extort money from people. That is criminal. It should not ever have happened. But it has happened because it's Ambazonia. And if the story is true, what did he get? He got 1,000 francs. That's less than $2 for trying to get somebody's phone and getting out numbers that he wished. Then from there, we progressed to Kumbo, where the young man who is described as being not mentally stable was killed. Well, I think it is a mistake to call it a crossfire. It was not under crossfire. You do not catch, all of us agree, if that story is true, he was a civilian. You don't catch a civilian, whether he's mentally okay or not. Give him protective military guards and ask him to accompany you. To do what? We don't know. And so if you give this guy protective gears to wear and follow you, the military guy, and he dies in your company, it's not crossfire. You surely killed him. And so that should be dismissed. He was never killed under crossfire. He was deliberately killed by those who adopted him, forced him to wear a uniform that was not his, took him to the battlefront, because you wear those bulletproof things. We're going to the war front. You want to prevent bullets from catching you. You catch a civilian, mentally deranged or okay in his mentality, force him to wear military clothes, take him to the war front, and he dies there. Then you call it a crossfire. No, it is not a crossfire. I think that's what I wanted to say about that. Then over to the Anu case. There's a lot to say about it. We have to start by asking, who is Mr. Anu? Most people in this revolution know Anu. Anu was a spokesperson. He was in charge of this spokesman in the Ambazonian interim government and then in the government. And that government, then and today, we always talk the principle of negotiations without preconditions to address the root causes of the problem. That has not changed since this government in exile started. It has not changed till today. But Anu was part of that government. But Anu then left and purported to lead his own government, which he called the IG. For 3 years, he led that thing. He never put out any statement on his position on negotiations and so on. His term of office has ended. Officially, he told us by himself. He has since handed over to somebody else. And then he puts out this thing as who, as Mr. Nsoh asked. We'll see. We don't know who he is, but everybody knows that right now he represents nobody by himself. That's why in that thing he puts Anu. He doesn't say he represents anybody. He's not head of any group, of any government or anything else. He puts it as Anu. But let us forget about his Anu or not. I think personally, and I believe strongly, that only somebody who is tactless, to say the least, politically insane, who is involved in a political negotiation, be it trade, in the negotiation, will go out to put out a white paper detailing all the details of what he or she wants. Now, if you do that, that's the most tactless approach to negotiations. Because your opponent already knows what you're looking for. And who tells you that they will give you that? As I know, nobody will do that in the future. Just like the
By
federalists want
Mbeseha,
to.
let me come in there. So you are saying that Chris Ano has just demonstrated another side of his folly by even writing in a memorandum. As he likes writing memorandum. This is the same guy who wrote a
Let me learn.
memorandum and said cabinet was not
No.
competent enough. So go ahead.
Paddy, let me finish my point. The commission.
Yeah, go ahead,
I've
please.
said Anu, like any other person in this struggle, anybody who wants to think that he wants to negotiate, we don't want to discredit him. Anybody, any group, any individual who thinks that he or she wants to negotiate the end to this struggle, just like any trade negotiation, who will put out a white paper and put out details of what you want in your negotiation, you lost the battle. Because you don't have a fallback situation. Because 100% your opponent that you want to negotiate with will never give you what you want. And so when you put out that thing, it is negotiation madness. It is not negotiation at all. Whether it is Anu or anybody who wants to go in, I was trying to give the example that people will tell you, we're federalists. We want a federation for Anglophones. Yeah, you put it out there. What is the guarantee that Yaoundé will give you that? It has been proven they will not give you that because that's your position. You will not get it. They didn't get it in the Grand National Dialogue, in spite of the fact that all of them were there, including Munzu. They never got it. And so I know whoever puts out that type of paper, yeah, I say negotiation madness, negotiation stupidity, the best, at the worst, negotiation madness. You put out that document there, you have destroyed yourself. Ask yourself the question, in future, any of us, what is your fallback situation from that document? If you brought Anu, let us assume that Anu is even sitting there. That's what you put out there. What is his fallback situation? Where you understand referendum or not? Yeah, we will not give a referendum anyway, because that's your negotiation tactic. The Ambazonian government that we represent has never put out our position out there. The only thing we say is go to the conference table, negotiate without preconditions.
Negotiation table, and let's have a conversation.
Yes.
Let's start talking.
And then the issues will come up. You address each of the issues. That's why you're addressing the root causes of the problem. You make your own proposals, your opponent puts this on the table. You don't put this thing on the front. And I've said this before. I learned this lesson in 1993. April 2nd, 1993. During the AAC 1, when we sat there in Maumeri, in Boya there, and we were passing the AAC resolutions. And we said, a return to a two-state federation. Next to me was a lady, a very powerful lady in Yaoundé, on the phone. Hierarchy. She turned and asked me, we're asking for a return to a two-state federation right here. What is the fallback situation she asked. I did not understand her. And Yaoundé realized that we're asking for a two-state federation. They knew they would never give us that one anyway. So what would we have done in 1992, 93, in AAC2, if we wanted a two-state federation? We would have set the bar higher. We would have said we wanted to separate. Then your enemy will come, your opponent will come to beg you. Rather go away, we'll give you a federation. And so that's what is meant by a fallback situation. Chris Anu, as irrelevant as he is, I think is equally very, very uninformed, very, very uneducated.
You cannot.
Was he right? I don't know. I think, let me conclude. I think his idea is just to remain relevant. He just want to be relevant. Publishing that thing.
The truth is that I am beginning to question myself. Is this relevance or ignorance? Is he just demonstrating some height of his ignorance? Because this is something I say all the time. And I tell Ambazonians, I am not insulting Chris Ano. At least Chris Ano knows that I'm outside in. I know how he got, what he would do to get his monologues. And probably because he destroyed the communications department, took weeks to write a monologue to come and read. And the fact that he was reading some of those monologues, Ambazonia him, and then it got into his head. And it has just made him just dull. It's making him really like you've said, is this sitting, he's trying to seek for relevance? There are three things involved. Either he's ignorantly trying to seek for relevance, or he is playing the bidding of Yaoundé that we know of already indirectly. Because there are very high chances a paper like this should know, studying just the very close history of this war. An editor of this paper should have known that this write-up of Chris Ano has no substance, has no impact. But I'm bringing the mic back to you, Barrister Fru. This thing of all those who call themselves Anglophones, because even Chris Ano, I've also heard him calling himself Anglophone. He didn't even know that the word Anglophone is a crime on the people of the Southern Cameroons. All of them, the Eric Chinje, all of them who are now confused, calling themselves Anglophones. In a very desperate situation, the La République du Cameroon government, French Cameroon, has never made a proposal. The one time they came close, after pressure from Ambazonian fighters on the ground, they proposed something to us that other French colonies are rejecting, a special status. Meaning, we don't just want you to go, we still want to have you, we want to still control you, but let's designate you. It's like giving you a medal that, okay, this medal, you understand, a special status. That is the closest Cameroon came to. And the people of the Southern Cameroons thought that was arrogance. That was arrogance. Even after Biya said that their intention to make sure that they assimilate the people of the Southern Cameroon, which has not succeeded. Please, I'm writing this kind of letter. What are some of these Anglophones looking for? Is it inferiority complex? Is it greed? Is it evil? What are these guys looking for, Barrister Fru? I can't understand.
Look, the so-called Anglophones. If you listen to one of those my outings when I was still on the home front on the Equinox, I told everybody that there is no Southern Cameroonians who can be referred to as Anglophones. We are Southern Cameroons. We are Ambazonians. So all these people who call themselves Anglophones, including the Chris Ano and others, they are looking for some solace in La République du Cameroon government. Whether that government is ruled by Churuma or by Biya, more especially by Churuma, they have all regenerated themselves and they are now doing the bidding of Icha Churuma, thinking that Icha Churuma, when it comes to power, something will dramatically change and they will now take the front seat as members of government from the Anglophone territory. They think there is nothing like Anglophone territory. There's the Southern Cameroons, now called Federal Republic of Ambazonia. So these people are looking for a way to survive. Chris Ano, throughout the crisis of electoral crisis in La République du Cameroon, Chris Ano's television has been on duty 24/7. What is he looking for? What is he looking for? It is clear to all Southern Cameroonians that Chris Ano is for La République du Cameroon because his whole network was put at the disposal of the crisis and was reporting on a daily basis, receiving people like his friend Eric Chinje. By the way, Eric Chinje has declared on television that I am not an Ambazonian, I'm a Cameroonian. I'm talking about my classmate from Form 1 to Form 5, Eric Chinje. We knew that one of his parents was La République. And now I know one of those parents that was La Republic was his father. And his mother is from Santa. So he's actually a La Republic citizen. No quarrel about that. But Chris Anu and others, Ngole, and you can name them, the Paul Tanganji, Ngoles, the whoever, Mengot, and so on and so forth. What are they looking for? Relevance. Trying to situate where they can eat. They have never thought that Southern Cameroons will end up with anything. These are people who wrote off the struggle. Chris Anu has written off the struggle. If you see Chris Anu now, you will not believe that he has anything to do with this struggle. From his actions, where Kedov stood on his television station. Yes.
By what you're saying, you realize that, like Eric Chinje, you've just mentioned, this same Eric Chinje, to prove that their agenda is not really for the good of the people of the Southern Cameroons. It's just to look for a remixed version of how to sell us to the Republic of Cameroon. This is the same Eric Chinje that was the mastermind of a certain platform that to bring Anglophone or leaders together for dialogue purposes.
Yes.
It's the same man who is now looking for a way to have Chiruma in power.
The same man.
You now start asking yourself, people start pretending that they are calling leaders, and all of them are angry because when they call these mushroom leaders, these individuals who call themselves leaders like Chris Anu into meetings, and President Sako can't take it. Right now, they are looking for every way. They have tried to despise him, it doesn't work. They are looking for every way now to implicate President Sako. I'm just citing so that we don't forget. There was a few days ago we were talking here, a certain group. I think Mbeseha was one of those who analyzed that they are group. A certain group, the same Eric Chinje was the one trying to say he wants to bring all the leaders together. So probably that is what they were trying to do. Please conclude this so that
yes, the fact that you are born in Southern Cameroons and your parents are not of Southern Cameroons, you are not a Southern Cameroonian. You are not a Southern Cameroonian. Eric Chinje was born in Santa, but of Francophone. The father was from Bunda, from Babaju, and the mother is Santa. So he's a La Republic citizen. He has said so himself. Memi Mefo was born in Bali, but was pregnanted in Bafusam by Bamileke man. Mefo is a Bamileke name. She is a La Republic citizen. She doesn't make any apologies for that. But what shocks me is the attitude of people like Chris Anu, people like Nchanji, people like all the others in Ngole and all the other so-called CPD politicians of the English-speaking extraction. They call themselves Anglophones. What are they looking for? To situate themselves in the system where they had adopted. And if that is their game, and they want to stay citizens of La Republic of Cameroon, no sweat. Nobody's quarreling with that. But they should leave the Southern Cameroons and Ambazonia alone. They should not interfere in anything concerning us. They should not do anything as if they are doing it on our behalf. Chris Anu's memo is based on what? Because he's a Banwa man, he has chosen his camp. He chose the camp the day he resigned from that his so-called interim government, and EPA took over, and now he's running a television station in La République du Cameroon, covering everything and talking about Chiroma, questioning him and Eric Kinje. They are all over the place, all over the networks. What the common Southern Cameroonian, what would they call Cristiano?
And he's now sending a memorandum out, nonsense memorandum.
He's now sending a memorandum out.
Nonsense. There's a critical question I want to ask you as a master player in this movement, and you have been involved critically in the early 2000s, before when Ouattara finally took power. You were working with the United Nations. You were there in the field, and you're working about it. Let's look at. I've said this over and over again, and I want you to still talk on it. And by Mbeseha will also highlight, Fru will highlight something, and that's where we're Southern Cameroons right now. What are the prospects for negotiations and dialogue? How should the people, we've asked this question many times, there have been diverse responses. How should we as a people position ourselves? In strength or with weakness, like Chris Arnold that has nothing now apart from his radio or his TV? How should we continue to put ourselves so that in any eventuality, we're getting on the dialogue and negotiation table with strength, not just getting there to talk as a people of weakness that will be intimidated and bullied? How do we, because negotiation begins when a person, you see there was on the table for any negotiation week. That's why people are keeping nuclear power. What should Ambazonia do? The people of Southern Cameroons, how should they position themselves to make sure that they are getting on the table for negotiation as parties or stakeholders in this conflict? Please talk to us.
Well, I think there's a lot. Let me start from the last. What should we do? Then I go to other issues. What we should do is what we're already doing. We remember, for those who do not know, that under this government, President Sako has created something we call Dialogue and Negotiation Commission, which coincidentally I happen to hate it. But Nsoh is part of it. And so, what is our role? Our role is to prepare Ambazonians for the eventual negotiations and dialogue, hoping that they will come. When they come, they are going to meet the competent people. One, they are going to meet the people with the technical know-how, the strategy on what to do and how to do it. That's the role of the Dialogue and Negotiation Commission that I hate. I don't need to divulge everything here. But we're already doing it. If Mr. Anu thought that he had some good ideas, you should bring it there, because that Dialogue and Negotiation Committee is made up of all Ambazonians who are capable and willing to join. If you have good ideas, he's welcome there. And any other Ambazonian who has good ideas on what to do at the appropriate time, the doors are open. Give me a call. We'll get your ideas there. And so that's how we're preparing. We've been doing it for quite some time. We're continuing to do it. And we'll do it until the day comes when we come to sit on the same table with them. But back to Anu. Anu, I've said, just wants to look relevant. Anu just handed over to Dr. EPA. We don't know whether he plays any role in the government of EPA. At least EPA has not said so. And so his utterances are just of self-importance. And he's achieving it because right now we're spending hours talking about him. We're spending hours on time talking about him. But it's Anu alone in this idea of trying to be relevant when they are not necessary. He's not alone. I don't blame Eric Kinje. They are federalists and they have made their point clear. So be it. I don't have any time to quarrel with them. What me for? But the bottom line is, you cannot be a federalist and at the same time an independentist. You cannot be fighting for the independence of Ambazonia and at the same time you're a federalist. Or at the same time, you're a unionist. No, we are making that big error. And there are clear examples. After Anu's story, Capo Daniel, that we know very, very well. Capo Daniel has been a part of the ADF. He was in Canada negotiating for the team. He has formed his own group called PRAC. After that document from Anu, Capo Daniel ran a whole show congratulating Anu that at last he has said what he wanted. Because according to Capo Daniel, from the failure of the Canadian talks, he had agreed that they should abandon the idea of independence for now and do what Cameroon wants. That's Capo Daniel. I saw it on his video, on his audio, on his program. And so he welcomes him there. But they say alone, that's why I said there are many of them who don't know what they're doing, or they know it and they're just being vicious. I saw not too long ago, Milanata in South Africa. He too has created a group. And what does he say in his own words? That there are three groups in this Ambazonian struggle. Unionists, who are small, federalists, who are small, and independentists, who in his own words are in the large majority. But in spite of recognizing that independentists are in the large majority, Milanata is still in South Africa, trying to form a group that will bring in the federalists, it will bring in the unionists to take a position for the Anglophone to go to the negotiation table. If Milanata knows that the independentists are the large majority, what is the essence of creating another group to bring in the federalists who are in the minority, to bring in the unionists who are in the minority? So these are people who are actually not know what they are doing. Oh, let me finish, please. Yeah. Or they know what they are doing, and they are being really vicious. And so, again, I said, Anu is not alone. Does Milan believe that this thing can work? What he's trying to call them, I don't know how I call that is good. Does he believe it can work? Certainly not. Because he's not an independentist. He's bringing confusion to this. Does he believe, does Capo Daniel believe, or does he still stand for independence? No. According to him, they went to Canada and failed, and they've been fighting for so long. He was in the SDF, he says. He was the ambassador of Sisiku, he says. And now he has abandoned the struggle. He wants us to join PRAC to abandon independence for now. Are these people that we should talk with? Certainly not, because their own goals are different. Should we go talk to Eric Chie? No. Since when did the Democrats and Republicans in terms of America go into one room to make campaign strategy? Their goals are different. They cannot join a campaign strategy. Since when did the SDF, for example, and the CPDM coalesce together to campaign for elections in Cameroon? There are two different parties. You don't go to your opponent's camp. Strategize where you are and leave the others alone. But Anu, again, back to him. You just want to be relevant, because even though we're talking here, occupying time, Yaoundé will say nothing about it. The newspaper does not coin those things for nothing. He coins a leader. He coins breakthrough to see what he will say. This is tactically, strategically done by Yaoundé. Yaoundé says nothing. But as we just said a few minutes ago, this social media is dangerous. They are following us. They are following him. Let us remain focused. As far as Andrew is concerned, he doesn't even know what he's doing. Even if he knows what he's doing, he has abandoned the struggle for independence. That is his freedom. But his paper, again, is tactically so unnecessary, tactically stupid, strategically nonsense for any negotiation that you want to do. No negotiators do that. And if you do that, that's a recipe for failure. Over to you.
That's an amazing one there by Mbeseha. You realize that you have said it, like those who are watching us could really get some of the things you said. Cameroon is strategically knowing that this movement led by the president of Ambazonia, Dr. Samuel Ikobesako, is unwavering, but we can dilute it. We can divide to conquer them. We can use those who are purporting to be their brothers to infiltrate their brands. Foxy Television, like Chris Arnold's television. Let's use an union, federally special statutionists, so that if they are all in a war, crush it down because of a mixed multitude. So one way Ambazonia will stand for negotiation with strength is to be vigilant and chorus. Or by the time they are calling by the time they are infiltrating us, they're actually putting on the Ambazonian flag. That's how they do to infiltrate our ranks. Because, for instance, when I look at the reports of Mimi Mefo and for Hansing today by Fru, honestly, I cannot understand how is it possible that kind of reports they're writing about Ambazonia. The two of them were in with me in the communications department with Solomon Amabo, in the communications department with Chris Arnold. I'm saying this on TV. Mimi Mefo was the first person we were planning to use as news anchor when I introduced the news in the newsroom. At the time with SCBC, we wanted to use Mimi Mefo as the first news anchor. When Chris Arnold wanted to start a radio, Mimi Mefo was going to be the first person. In fact, if I still have access to my old phone, I can show the chat where she was going to be one of those in that radio. At the time, she was planning her escape from Cameroon. I think she had already escaped. So, how did it happen that we are where we are today? Is appalling. But the long and the short story is, like Mbeseha has rightfully said, it is Cameroon not willing to come on the table with a contending opposite side. So they are looking at every available means to weaken our formidable force. They are happy when we are constituted as a government. They want us to be as certain groups. Cameroon is more comfortable to rush to Canada with certain individuals for some Canadian talks. They don't want to stand and talk with an Ambazonia that has restored its dignity and its institution. Barrister Fru, please.
Paddy, before I say something, let me let you in on something that is happening in Bamenda. La République de Cameroon is building roads in Bamenda. How do you make of that?
Yeah.
That to me is very suspicious. I know that they started building, recently they started another one because the Pope is going to land first in Bamenda. But that is not the reason for building that road. Even before they talked about the Pope coming, they started building the roads in Bamenda. Now, for us to continue to play the role that we're playing now and play it even harder, we must increase firepower on the ground so that when we're getting on that table, we're getting on that table from the position of strength. Way and beyond the commission that we're working on now, the most important thing now is to increase the power on the ground, just like we were in 2021. And we plan to do that. La République is looking for a soft landing so that when they get to the negotiation table, you see, while the rest of the country is crying because there are no roads, even in Yaoundé. Yaoundé is dilapidated, Douala is dilapidated. This government has built roads in Bamenda. If that's not the reason, why would they go and take a loan to build the roads in Bamenda? And why now? Bamenda has what do they call him? Mancho BBC is in jail because of the roads in Bamenda town. He is not in jail because of this struggle, because he denounced the roads in Bamenda town. Now, they are looking for every means because they have realized that this government is formidable. They cannot break through. They can't do anything. So they must do things that will weaken the negotiating strength of this government. It's not going to work because we're determined. Barrister Mbeseha is leading a very important commission that is training and informing our people on the negotiating process. Where and beyond that, we are going to increase firepower on the ground because La Republic is looking for soft landing, which they cannot have. Do you know how many times La Republic has made trips to America to try to meet Dr. Sako? We will not avail Dr. Sako to them to meet. Dr. Sako is himself not willing to see anybody or smell anybody from La Republic of Cameroon coming to say anything here.
He's not interested.
No. He's not interested. He doesn't even want to hear anybody talk about it. He doesn't want to talk to anybody. You want to talk to us? Go to the get us and come to the negotiating table. Like he used to say in those days of the Swiss stuff. You want to talk to us? Talk to the Swiss. Then you will talk to us. Now, what they are so blocked that they have now decided to do things for the southern Cameroons that will show the world that they are doing something, that is part of they are developing that part of the country. They are doing it when? During war. A war that who started? They started. And what are the root causes of the war? They will hear the root causes on the table. They know the root causes, but they want to hear it on the table. And Barrister Mbeseha is preparing, is leading a commission that will tell them the root causes of this war. So La Republic is blocked, Paddy. They have no way to go. And to answer your question,
end this program.
Let me finish. To answer your question, this Fru Hansen and Memi Mefo is the person who brought me to start what I was doing on the home front. I got my first political exposure on the Kinox through Memi Mefo. Not because of this struggle, but because of the Ezeka crash. The train crash in Ezeka, where I had a team of lawyers working with me on for the victims of that crash. She got me on television, and through that I came in with the struggle. So she was a partner, a very committed partner to me. And when she was detained in jail, I worked 24/7 to get lawyers to work and have her out. And what is she now? Something different. She found her country. But that's notwithstanding. I cannot blame her. She's a La Republic citizen. I cannot blame Eric Chije. He's a Republic citizen. But what is Fru Hansen, Chris Anu, and others doing as they call themselves Anglophones? What are they doing? Chris Anu, as I said before, Paddy, if you watch the social media, you will see his television is on Churuma. He's meeting, I don't know how many shows he has done with Eric Chenje on Churuma. Who is Churuma? A La Republic presidential candidate. What has that got to do with us? Like I said, let them leave us alone. Let them leave us alone.
And all of that is distraction. That is indicative of an infiltrator who happens to be very ignorant as well. But I want us to really get into something as I conclude. This is something very serious. And I'm bringing it to public notice because of the emotions that this communicated to me just this week. Option there. Earlier this week, I received one of our comrades in jail. By the time I'm done, we'll get the details. Well, this is about the third time he is smuggling a letter to me. And I feel very, and I want to share it because he actually authorized me to extend his greetings to the Ambazonian people. Let me read this. It got a lot of questions I asked myself. And this is what he said. He says, Happy New Year and seasonal greetings. Hey, comrade, how on a day? Extend our regards to all. We are doing very okay and healthy and we are preparing for sentencing and possible appeal. If justice is justice, then Ambazonia will prevail. However, regardless of the outcome, and the Lord God Almighty has already delivered our people and their plight. It says, just a matter of time. Ask my people to stay focused and commit everything in the hands of the Almighty God. It says, shake, bros. Please let diplomacy stir up the flames. We need to keep talking, praying. Salute all man for we. Love you all and remain blessed. Let our people know we sing the Amber in this prison walls or in the waiting rooms of the court. Shake no day. The God of justice is listening and will grant our request. Amen. Chairman Frank. By Mbeseha, please.
Wow.
Well, thank you for that good letter from a comrade in jail. They're in jail not because they wanted to be in jail. Somebody forcefully put them there for having an opinion different from theirs. Albert also says, and I want to take off from there. They're in jail because we're fighting, and the fighting is firepower. Firepower must be triple. But firepower alone is not going to take us out. If we did release all those guys, even including the Naira 10, you hear the judgment on the 18th, they release all of them, that will not be Cameroon, that will not be Ambazonia independence yet. And so for us to get to the independence that we want, we must match our firepower with political strategy. Political strategy is absolutely important, and let people know what is going on. And this will lead me again to address what I've just said and expand on it. You see, there are people who don't want to be relevant. We're talking about Ano. We're talking about people who want to be relevant when they have ceased to be relevant. The struggle is long. People have gotten tired. Some have even died. If you get tired, you retire. If you fail, admit that you have failed. As I mentioned what Mr. Milan Atan is doing in South Africa, and coincidentally, let me say this for the record, I talked to many people. I called them. I called everybody by the background, asked why they're doing this. That would take me to something we've been doing. That has been done. We've heard it all the time. Oh, come to United Front. They call this CAF. Southern Cameroon United Front. And then we'll prosecute the revolution from there. And then I laugh. People behind this thing, a good number of them in South Africa, I've talked to them. But the face of it right now is Mr. Makfusi and Mark Barata. Yes, but I don't hate them. But we must understand where they're coming from. Makfusi was in the Restoration Council. They invented something they call elections, which were not found anywhere in the Constitution. They elected Marianta and gave her 6 months. They elected Anu and gave him 3 years. And all these things they did have produced nothing. And now they are coming back for us to go to the United Front called SCAOF. I've asked them, why are we going there? What is the strategy there? The political strategy is not to form many groups. The winning strategy that we discovered was when in 2017, October, at the Zaire conference, they created something they called the government of Ambazonia, because we are fighting to restore the government of Ambazonia and her institutions. That winning strategy is the one that offended Yaoundé so badly. That poor year declared war on 30th of November. That same year. That poor year got so angry and sent people to come and abduct Sissoko from Nara Hotel. So that's a winning strategy. Why then abandon it? Why abandon it? We have told them. We have taken over the government. And rather than abolish it, we have improved on it. We have improved on it from interim government to full government, because Poncha's government was not interim, it was full. We have improved on it by saying that rather than the Restoration Council, we have the House of Representatives or House of Assembly. That is improvement, not abolition. And so why do you want us to go back and call something SCAOF? And who are those behind it? Mr. Makfusi. I call his name here emphatically. This Makfusi was the chair of this thing. They orchestrated this so-called election where he was sitting there and telling Anu in private mail, oh, you will win, you will win. But he was in the Restoration Council. Anu won, made him the spokesman for his government. He has not succeeded. Now he's sitting out there. Mark Barata was one of the early activists. What did he do? He did his best. But what did he do that should make him totally disqualified? He said, even given the opportunity, if they have two people to kill, and he had to kill only one, and before him stood Sako and Pobia, he would murder Sako. This is the guy which is a guy on SCAOF that they expect President Sako or you and me to go join them in that group. And I asked this, our South African brothers, where is the government that was set up in the Zaire country? Where is the government? You have abandoned it. Where is the constitution that was put out there? The sole work of Professor Nyangwe. You've abandoned it. So what institutions are you trying to restore? What do you want us to discuss in SCAOF? That is not found in the interim government that was so structured out. So you want us to abandon this winning strategy, politically winning strategy of the restoration of our institutions and our state, to come labor somewhere else. We've gone through this. We have been to Canada CDN. Where is CDN? Who told us they would do wonders to us? They did nothing. Capo Daniel and the rest were all in Canada. They promised gold and silver. Canada has come and passed. What has it brought to us? Capo Daniel, that Alish has been outspoken right there. He said, was there representing Sissoko? Was there representing his friend Chiwayama? He has abandoned the struggle and called himself now, let us abandon it, go for something else down the road. Is that what we're out for? Will Ambazonians understand simply why we cannot join such those gangsters? Why they have come to the end of their own journey? They should simply retire and go back home. Because revolution is not meant for everybody. Revolution is meant for the hard-hearted people. It's not meant for the chicken-hearted. If you die, if you escape, when they kill your wife, they kill your brother, they kill your sister, you will not be what be in the revolution. We've lost people. Their lives are so important to us. But we shall not give up. Because that's why we fight. That's why we have died. In our earlier segment, we talked about the youths. Ambazonia has paid the price in Africa. We've lost everything. We've lost homes. We've lost young people. And we're persisting. Because we took the step to say, talking is not enough. Action is what we want. Let Africa take the cure from Ambazonia. They will not drive away France by talking. They will drive away France by taking action. They will not drive away the Russians by talking or the Chinese by talking. They will drive them away by taking action. That will hurt them as well. Today, I've said it last week. If you go to the heart of Mr. Paul Biya in Supo, some of them regret for having declared this war. Because though they have killed thousands of our own boys, theirs have also died. They have not gone scot-free. And so Ambazonians who sit there and say, well, Mr. Sako has not joined the SCAO, he has not joined this group and that, understand us very well where we're coming from. Any group other than anything that restores politically the institutions of Ambazonia is fake.
Yeah.
It's a distraction. Over to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Mbeseha, for that. Mr. Fru, do you want to give it just a few words, maybe a few seconds?
No, that was a very good closing remark from Barrister Mbeseha. So I think we have had a field day.
Thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, fellow Ambazonians, ladies and gentlemen. For us to stay the ground and to ensure that we are getting into negotiations with strength. The only way we can fight against the proxy media of La République du Cameroon is by keeping ABC alive. The only way the military experts are advising you to go on the negotiation table with strength is by making sure like firepower on the ground. And what does that really mean? Is by accepting the challenge that our brothers and sisters at the home front have given to us to say that they are volunteering and pledging their own lives for the freedom of, and the least we can do for them is to sabotage their efforts by allowing Cameroon military and their proxies kidnapping and killing and frying babies in palm oil to now blame boys who have decided that they're going to defend themselves against rape, against hundreds of villages. We cannot sabotage their efforts. The least they expect from us is a cup of Gary every day as they are walking in those dark bushes, the equatorial rainforest, climbing hills, eating termites for protein. Some of them will go from you and from me. It's a meal. They're not asking you for any gun because we don't fabricate guns. We don't have guns. We don't have bullets. They are saying that we will figure out. We will figure it out. We will beat Cameroon military and take us from them, but you need to give us food. They expect ABC to stay alive to talk about their plight. That's all they're asking from us. I want to use this as an opportunity to remind us about the platform that ABC Networks 24 is establishing, the TV. It's under testing. It has been tested and proven, but it needs TV as a whole, as we speak this year, needs resources. We're facing more than enough that you have done a lot, but how much is enough for the lives of the people that are dying at the home front? When is enough? Is enough the day that the trumpets will sound that we are already in both? Enough is not enough. We have to keep on. So we will have to share our payment platforms for those who have not given their dues since the year started. Also to announce to you that for all your humanitarian efforts, we are sending out, go ahead with that. We are sending out tax your tax letters. I know some of you are planning to file in your taxes. Please contact us. A couple of these letters, you'll be receiving them. If by next week any person has their accounts, please contact ABC management. I'll be sending, I think management sending out an official communique. Ensure that you communicate with us. Let's have a discussion. Difficulties with their subscription. A lot of you are owing your dues. It's not really a debt, but it is a debt. I hope you know exactly what I mean. Please, that you are able to do them. We are going to give you your tax letters once that is done. Receiving the tax letter is not just for you to file in taxes. It's a way of us telling you thank you for fair. Ambazonia is at least having a voice to talk about it. And last but not the least, the People's Town Hall that ABC Amba 24 is introducing on TikTok. We're going to share the link. I've given that link to Kemi Ashu. We'll share it officially on our page. Share it with anybody you know. Let's be able, because you are required by TikTok to get a certain amount of followership before you can start going live. While others are talking, our voices cannot be to be a part of this. Until next week, it's been Tarh Paddy. I will see you again next Saturday, most especially.